So I got this comment this morning. This woman, Jams, is asking me to do an update on a post that I did about 9 months ago. So I click into the one that she's talking about, and I'm like, okay, cool. Let's see if we can find an update. Her username is the Princess Pillow, and I start clicking through her post. And before I even get started with this, I will say that the update is not great, but I am going to go over the original post because it is from August 2024. So that is a long time ago. So let's just get into this original post. This was originally posted in the 2X chromosome subreddit. It was pulled, but that's okay because it was reposted in the Best of Reddit's update. So she says, I made dinner for only myself last night. Let me know in the comments if you kind of remember this story. She says, since moving in with my boyfriend, I have somehow become the only one doing kitchen duty. Well, most of the duties, actually. I do all of the laundry, take the trash out to the bins, do all the cleaning in the bathroom. I dust the furniture. Then the kitchen duties. I do all the grocery shopping. I make the menu. I do all the cooking and then do the dishes and clean the sink and counters. I feed and water the cats and dogs. The cats are his. He does lawn duty. We live in a condo with a 20 square foot yard and half of it's covered in concrete. He Swiffers the floor a couple of times a week. Everything else is on me. We both work full time and split the bills evenly. I actually work more than him. He works 4 10-hour shifts a week and it says, and I work 6 8-hour shifts. Obviously, this is now starting to cause lots of resentment. I have just tried not doing things, but they don't get done. I can't live in filth and won't let his cats suffer because he doesn't notice the bowls are empty or the litter box is gross and so full. So I break down and do it. I have tried asking him to do things. They still don't get done, or at least not in a timely fashion. He has forgotten to take the trash bins to the curb, causing us to have an excess amount of bags for a week, or left the leftovers out all night, causing them to spoil when I asked him to put the food in Tupperware. A month ago, I was super frustrated. I was working second shift instead of first like I normally do because a coworker had a child care emergency and I was being nice. I was coming home from work at 10 p.m. super hungry, and of course my boyfriend hadn't made dinner. And he has the nerve to complain about being starving when he's been home for 5 hours. Even making something simple, we weren't eating until 11:30 or so, and then he was going straight to bed, leaving me with cleaning up and putting away the leftovers. I ended up telling my boyfriend how crazy stressed I was keeping up with everything in the household, and I felt pathetic, but I was basically begging him to make things more equal. He seemed to understand and promised to do more, and for a couple of weeks he kinda did. He made the grocery order, cleaned the litter boxes, grilled for us twice, but that didn't last for long, and somehow I was still responsible for reminding him to help or assigning him these jobs. This last week, my boyfriend has been on vacation from work. He had so much PTO racked up that he had to take time off because he couldn't earn any more. I still worked my normal 48 hours from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I was getting home from work around 2:30 to hear my boyfriend complain about being hungry and asking me to make him some lunch. This completely set me off, and I've lost so much attraction to him. I refused every time, causing him to have an attitude with me. When I got off of work yesterday, I was exhausted and fell asleep on the couch. We had discussed the day before we would be having burgers that night for dinner, something he likes to make and that are actually really good when he does. But I woke up at 7 p.m. to him playing video games in our bedroom and asking, when's dinner? I left him the game and patted myself a burger and fried it and ate my supper alone at the kitchen table. I cleaned up my mess and sat down in the living room to watch some TV. Sometime later, he comes out again and asks, when's dinner? Are you still making burgers? I told him I wasn't feeling good and not hungry. He ended up eating some effing chips and salsa, too lazy to even make a frozen pizza. We go to bed, and this morning he complains about being starving, asking for pancakes or something more filling for breakfast than cereal since he didn't get dinner. I don't know how much longer I can go on. I don't know how much longer this can go on. So that was the post. The comment that I circled when I did that original post. Your life coach 69 says, is this rage bait? because I feel rage. How long are you locked into your lease? And like I said, that was last summer. She said February. Unfortunately, she was locked in until February. So this is the original post. So this is the update. So it says, an update to I made dinner only for myself last night. She says, hi, I had many people ask for an update to my original post in the comments and indirect messages. So here goes. Sunday, my boyfriend and I had a lengthy discussion about household inequality. I once again stressed with him how overworked I was and that I was losing attraction to him, that I was rethinking a future because being his mom was never something that I wanted to do. My boyfriend finally seemed to get that this was a make it or break it situation. He confided that he enjoyed being spoiled by me and apologized for taking advantage. He cried over the thought of losing me. He promised to do more without asking and even swore to start putting together a chore, maybe a chore chart. On to today. This morning, my boyfriend and I were getting ready for work, and he asked me if I would be okay making dinner tonight because he was planning on mowing and weeding after work. Remember, she said they have like mostly concrete and it's a very small yard. But she says, I agreed, although I was thinking that he should have mowed this weekend, especially since the last 4 days. He said, I'm going to mow tonight, but it needs to be done, so whatever. He then made a comment about how it makes sense for you to make dinner most days anyway. I asked why he figured that, and his reasoning was that I get off work earlier. I just kind of laughed and asked if that means he will be on dinner and dishes his 3 days off, and he made some kind of remark about it being nice. It would be nice if he could have 1 day free to himself a week and his hobby Saturday, so that can keep him out late. This really pissed me off because who got off work earlier didn't matter when I worked second shift last month, and he gets off work before 5:30, so it's not like he couldn't relax for an hour or so before cooking, and I will never have a free day to myself. Plus, since moving in together, anytime we argue about him not contributing, his reasoning is I get off work earlier, not taking into account that I work 2 days more than him. It was obvious then that he hadn't really learned anything. So I told him so and started crying because that's when I realized I was done and it was over. I didn't want to have that conversation right before going to work. So tonight I'll be officially ending our relationship. So I've been pretty useless at work today, making phone calls and preparing for my next move. I sent an email to my old boss. I'm sure if they have any positions open, he would be glad to have me back. And a friend has been nice enough to offer me her spare room until my boyfriend's lease runs out. Unfortunately, my landlord was not willing to remove me from the lease because he doesn't think boyfriend can pay for it himself. So I'm just preparing to send him half the rent until February. But as soon as I have employment lined up back home, I'll be moving out. Until then, I'm cool sleeping on an air mattress in our spare room. I'm very sad. I'm very sad. I loved him, still do. This is my first time moving in with a boyfriend, and I thought I did everything right. Like we didn't rush. Waited a year and 10 months to take this step and make sure he could take care of his without me, but it still ended up this way. Like I said, this story did not have a good ending. That was 9 months ago. This was 8 months ago. Ex-boyfriend drained my bank account. She says, broke up with my boyfriend about a month ago, moved out, was still planning on paying rent in our home we shared a lease for. Woke up this morning and found out he transferred all the money in my bank account to his using Cash App. I don't even know how he could do this. I never gave him permission or access to my Cash App or bank account. He must have gotten a hold of my phone and changed the passwords at some point while I was still living there. Now I have no way to get gas money to get to work, buy my dogs food and groceries, pay my bills, car note due next week till my payday Friday. I'm seriously stressing out. Called the police and was told small claims court was my best option because he could just argue that I gave him the money since it was transferred via Cash App. That obviously doesn't help me in the meantime. What can I do? Her next couple of posts were talking about how she needed money for groceries and dog food. Trigger warning. She got so desperate, she started thinking about ending it all. So she had an infected tooth and didn't know what to do. Then she says, it's all too hard. And then she says, I don't know where to do it. So she was thinking about ending it all. I start combing through her comments to see if she was still making comments, and she was. So after this post, it's all too hard, can't do this anymore, so effing broke, so hungry, so hopeless. This country is effed. There's no future. Good luck to everyone else. She made a comment a month ago saying, "Thank you, everyone. I decided not to do it. Your comments really did help. I told my friend that I'm really struggling and I gave her my pew pew. This is a terrible time for me, but it's temporary." And then the crazy cat lady says, "Thanks for posting an update. You made the right decision. Praying for you." I'm just going to put this out here, moving in with the wrong person. Like we talk about the whole chores thing. We talk about this type of stuff all the time. Ladies, get you a trusted friend to move in with. Stay with your parents right now while the economy is still so bad. I do not want anyone to end up in this type of situation. This was definitely a terrible update, but this is how it ended. And she's still alive though. So there we go.